is the wrong mic. There we go. That should be the right microphone. Let me know in the chat that you can see me and hear me okay. I think we got a few viewers out there. Alright, let's get things set up. Screen sharing, good. Let me bring up the chat. It's been a little while. Alright, yeah, good morning everyone. Morning, Jeffrey. Alright, sorry, I'm a little sniffly today, so excuse that. Actually got kind of cool over here overnight, so I can be heard and seen. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, yeah, while we're waiting for everyone to attend or join in, I got my lighting set up finally. So, I'll do a little demo here for like 30 seconds while everyone's coming in and confirming the audio. Let's bring up. Now, the annoying thing is I have to be connected to Wi-Fi. So everything I got was like Philips Hue. So I got like the desk light strip like Frake had recommended, and then I got some overhead lights, which I can control the color on. But what's really fun is being able to do it from Siri on the phone. So, hey Siri, set office to work mode. Ah, there we go. So it's like it's probably hard to see since the monitor's going this way, but that's like really light blue, like concentrate kind of thing. And then I've got a desk strip on the back, which won't really shine through unless I turn the lights off. So, hey Siri, turn office lights off. So yeah, so all that light is the front desk strip. So I could set that to like a crazy color. Like, hey Siri, set desk light strip to red. Oh, she's thinking about it. Do it. Oh, she failed. Oh well. Anyway, let's turn these back on. Oh, there it goes. It actually swapped out to red. She took a minute. Okay, anyways, that's my demo of the lighting setup. Some people had asked about it. I don't know if those same people are on the light stream or the live stream. If you are, hopefully you enjoyed the demo. All right, cool. Let's get down to business. First of all, I realized that I was not watching notifications for the Blueprint docs, so I apologize that there have been some updates. So let's get these merged and published first and foremost. And again, I've kind of been out of Blueprint for at least the last, I would say, 10 days, maybe more, working on BaseLaravel, just getting that launch ready and everything like that. So do apologize, but I haven't seen any bugs come in, and I've seen the download counts kind of stay pretty steady, so it seems like people are still using it. But anyways, looks like this was just a little typo. I called it time zones, not timestamps, so thank you for that. And again, apologies that that's set out there for like a month. And then as we mentioned in one of the previous videos, I wanted to kind of do a better job of making a community add-on section. So this is now in here, and I'll probably break this out to its own page down the road. But for now, I'm glad to see these listed, so let's just squash merge that as well. And let's go to blueprint.laravel.laravelshift.com. What is that called? Blueprint docs, or what I called it. Uh-oh, I've got some stuff locally. What's that about? Get diff-w. Let's see what's up. Generates a statement to send a mailable or notification. I thought I committed that. Let's go find out. Blueprint.laravel. Mailable. Send. Oh, that's kind of weird. Generates a mailable to send a mailable or notification using. Generates a mailable. So what does this say? Generates a statement to send a mailable or notification using. So this is already published. I must have done something weird there. Let's just get reset -- hard. Not sure how that wasn't there. And let's do a git pull. Got all the latest now, and we'll just do an sh deploy. I just got a little rsync script for this. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Low audio. Are we good on the audio? Seems good. Anyway, I got a little rsync script that just runs Jekyll, or not Jekyll, sorry, Jigsaw. My mind's all over the place today. Runs Jigsaw, Titan's Jigsaw, static site generator to make the new site. So we should see a couple pages go up, I think, plus the assets probably. So that makes sense. The controller statements, the extending blueprint, that was the new section, and then the model shortcuts, and then of course updated timestamps for the sitemap. So let's just see. Okay, it does look like I was missing that change. Okay, so bad JMac, here's what happened. I made that change locally, pushed it up, but then never committed and shared it with master. So let's go get it and let's fix that. What is that? The controller statement. So let's just do a VI since it's easy enough. Post, or well, that's source, posts. What is it called? No, source. It's not source. It's, what is it under? I always forget. VI source should be under post. Oh, docs. They have it under docs. Controller statements. And that was mailable. Yeah, there it is. So we want this. Oh, paste. That was the good stuff. GST, get diff. Alright, that should look more like what we had. Let's just sh deploy that again. And we should be able to refresh this page and see that it looks good. And we need to push it out to master this time so it's not just on my local machine and gets lost. Alright, come on, deploy, you can do it. Good old npm taking a year to build. There we go. Alright, cool. And let's refresh. Mailable or notification. Links are good. Links are good. Alright, get commit dash m, update, or add link for notification, I guess? Notification? Oh, helps when you actually add stuff, doesn't it? Let's just do that for quickness. I'm out of the live stream game here, guys. Look at this. Git push origin head. There we go. All right, docs are up to date. Let's get back over to Blueprint itself. These have been floating out, like I said, for just a little bit. I know these two are really just kind of like cleanups here coming in. I think his name was Muhammad. I always get confused when I see, you know, avatars and so forth. Yeah, Muhammad. There we go. Cool. Yeah, everyone's like things like different on Twitter, different on GitHub. The avatars are sometimes new and old. I'm guilty of that too, in fairness. So, yeah, it's confusing sometimes. Anyway, let's go back to Blueprint. Git pull. Give ESBuild a try. Oh, is that like for generating the front end assets or something, I guess? Honestly, like, I don't even care about that kind of stuff. I just kind of go with what I know. I don't want to get in like a 3-week, you know, tangent on like trying to update my front end build process. Like it works. I'm just complaining because, you know, I'm live streaming. Like in general, it doesn't bother me that npm, you know, takes whatever it was, 25 seconds. Okay, so anyway, getting back into these PRs, let's get all these merged, and then we'll see what kind of time I have left, and we'll go from there. I do think there's an opportunity though, to write some tests for one of these other PRs, or potentially kind of refactor this one. So let's go through this one, because I did comment on this, but said I wasn't going to come back to it for just a little bit. So what I want to look at here is this was the option to overwrite migrations. So I really like this one because I really don't like the erase command. I kind of just made the erase command as a reaction to people complaining like, oh, how do I get rid of stuff Blueprint generated? And I totally get that that's a headache. But you know, it's no different than in the real world when you write a bunch of code and you don't want it anymore. Like, what do you do? You know? And as we saw just a minute ago, you run git reset, or at least I do. So I just don't think Blueprint's like the right tool to like kind of undo the changes you've made. Um, so again, I made the erase command to try and help with that, but it's not even really 100%. Because again, you can make some changes that you do or don't want, or you wanted to keep. So it's just anything Blueprint does or I build is never going to be um, as good as the developer that is aware of their code and the changes they've made right there, you know, real time, so to speak, in the moment. So all that is to say that I really hate the erase command, and honestly, in 2.0, I'll probably get rid of it in favor of these types of options. So the option I like here that's being added is this overwrite migrations. In my mind, this is probably the number one reason when you want to build or rebuild um, that those are probably the most annoying thing, right? Is the migrations because of the timestamps. They're just going to generate 3 more new ones if you forgot to erase. So again, I definitely understand Blueprint kind of creates a chicken egg scenario there where like, oh, well, if I didn't run Blueprint, then I wouldn't have had these migrations. And if I run Blueprint again, then I get more migrations. So it's kind of like a bit of a vicious cycle. So I get that. Um, so I'm more open to these commands in the future, is kind of also what I'm saying, than I am to kind of like solving the problem of what needs to be erased. Uh, so the thing that I commented on this PR about was I just kind of didn't like that this had to like all get pushed down, and I think there's an opportunity to refactor. So I'm probably going to merge it, but I want to talk about the refactor, and if we have time at the end, I'll come back to it. So what I didn't like about this, or what's difficult about this, it's not the contributors issue. It's more like just the evolution of the code base of Blueprint. We're getting to a place where when these commands run, they call lower level classes. They call Blueprint, they call the migration generator, the builder, all these different things. And so when you do something really, really high level, like the command, such as passing a new option, to get that down to the things that actually care about it, it's a little awkward. And that's exactly what the contributor called out here. They said, hey, I had to send in over my migrations, which then sent it down to, each of the generators. The builder gets it. Of course, the command had to be updated with it. So it just, again, it kind of just gets passed down and down and down and down and down, and ultimately to the migration generator with this kind of overwrite false. Uh, I think by the nature, so sorry, the refactor I would want to do is to avoid having to pass this like overwrite all the way down, because none of these other things use it. Just the command uses it, and then the rest kind of passes it down to these generators that may or may not need it. So like every single one of these additional generators, now has to kind of accept that as false, 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 even though they're not using it. So just the number of things that had to change here for the migration generator to be aware of that is too much. And to me, that's a sign that there needs to be a better system in place. Now, I don't know what that system is right this minute, so again, I'm going to go ahead and merge this. I'll leave it up to the chat if you have any ideas while we get these other PRs merged. But I definitely would like an opportunity, and I think, again, there's going to be other places to use this moving forward, that when one of these only or skips or override options gets set, we can see that we've kind of done this multiple times now. And again, the whole refactor, the smell, the rule of 3, only, skip, overwrite. That's 1, 2, 3. 3 strikes, you're out. Time to refactor. Like, we're doing this enough now that there needs to be a better system in place to kind of toggle these states on and off. So that way, pieces that actually care about it, lower can just, ask about or inquire about that state instead of kind of passing it through the chain of objects all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so again, this works. It runs. All the tests pass. I did see that they updated the test in the PR, which is nice. Well, you know what? Actually, let's check that migrations PR or migrations test just a little more closely. Blueprint test, build command test, migration generator test. Okay, let's just check this a little bit more. So exist. Okay, so output updates migration for model tree. This is all new. Output updates migration for model tree. Updates migration. I guess they're trying to say overwrites here. Yesterday path. Okay. So they do have a test for this. It may not be it may not communicate as much as I'd like it to, but I do see additional tests for this, so this is good. Alright, so with that said, let's just finish up the merge here, and if we get time, we'll come back to some refactors. Alright, so I think that's a good feature, and again, a step in the right direction to not have to kind of keep fighting the never-ending, always going to lose battle of the erase command. Speaking of which, here's a PR for the erase command. Now I think this is the one where they wanted a better set of testing. Mohammed was trying to help me write more tests, or help Blueprint have more tests for the commands, because the commands aren't really tested. And one of the reasons I didn't test the commands is because it's kind of hard to test a command that calls other artisan commands, and that's what a lot of these do. So the build command just kind of calls lower level things, and so that has its own test. But erase and trace and some of these other things, they kind of call each other, and it gets a little funky. So we kind of went back and forth and talked about this, but let's look at this code for a sec. So what do we have here? Yeah, so they resolve Blueprint so they can probably control it, is my guess. And then they call artisan, and my guess is they probably do a partial mock on the artisan facade so they can kind of make that happen. So what is this? Artisan fake. That's really interesting. I probably will not be using that, to be honest. Build command test, erase command test. Deletes the created files. Yeah, so see artisan swap with the new one. So they're attempting to do a swap on artisan to see that it calls trace. So again, I get what they're ultimately doing here. New command test. So just some cleanup here. Yeah, I like pieces of this. I really don't like that artisan fake object. I know why they're doing it, but I don't want it. Okay. So let's read this and better understand. So try to use mock and spy to detect trace commands called. Yes, makes sense. Invoked, but Laravel neglected the mocked version. Yes. So when you start faking stuff out, it's kind of all or nothing. And the problem is when you're trying to test a command in an integrated way, with like an integration test, actually calling it, so through Laravel's, artisan call or dispatch or whatever, you're kind of faking artisan all the way down, and because of that, you can't even perform the initial test methods on it because it's faked. So you kind of have to like try to selectively fake it, which you could normally do with a spy, because you could let some things through, or you could do that with a partial mock, more technically. But again, it's very difficult. It's something I remember messing with in Confident Laravel, and I talked about in one of those videos too. It's very hard to kind of test that. So while I do like pieces of this, especially some of the cleanup that they did here or there, and they do have some tests here that are worthwhile, I definitely don't want this artisan fake thing. I don't want to carry that. I think that would be very confusing down the road. So I'm just trying to think. Do I want to just close this All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take 15 minutes and try to fix this using Artisan, like using the tools that we have available instead of this artisan assert called kind of thing with the fake swap that they're doing. So let's try that. All right, let's do that. So I'm not going to merge this itself, but what I am going to do is take their branch, because they do have some good work on here, and let's get started. All right, vendor bin PHP unit. Okay, we got a crazy number of stuff. Composer. Oh, I know what it is. I don't think I've ever updated this locally with that registry stuff we did last time. Let's let composer update real fast. So that's going to take a second. While that's taking a second, let's bring up PHP Stormsville. And Blueprint. Where are you, Blueprint? There you are. Blueprint. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that artisan fake. So just for now, see you later. Or well, you know what? Let's run it and see that everything's running. So I do want to see that they have passing tests, which I think they do. Ooh, what is that? Your XML configuration validates against a deprecated schema. Oh, I guess I bumped to PHP unit 9? I did? That's interesting. My iMac is screaming. I guess it was Composer. Oh, I do offer 9. Okay, fair enough. Your XML, let's fix this, I guess. Your XML configuration validates against a deprecated schema. Migrate your XML configuration using migrate. Oh, that's easy enough. Okay, well, we'll come back to that on the master branch then. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do remove.blueprint. I don't know why I have that. And we already saw that it all ran, so now let's delete artisan faker and let's kind of see which test explodes. And hopefully it's just that one. And it is. Excellent. So let's try to re-engineer this using what we have and also kind of find the problem instead of me just talking about it. Okay, so yeah, they set up a fake here. So let's just do this. So traditionally we might say something like artisan fake, or let's see what it is. It's the command bus. Laravel fake artisan, I think. Do you fake artisan directly? There's a way to do it. I mean, artisan's a mock just like anything else. So there's a way, or sorry, it's a facade just like anything else. So we can, yeah, let's create a partial mock and see what happens. Assert, why are you not coming in right? Oh. Let's go take a look at this. Artisan just fakes out. Oh, there isn't. So we only get what's on facade. And facade has a spy, and it has a partial mock, which we can return something. So yeah, if I were doing this, that's what I would probably do. I'd probably try to partial mock it somehow, or spy on it, and let it do the rest itself. So let's do a partial mock, and we'll just call this artisan. And what we can do before we actually call the command is we can say something like this, or sorry, artisan should receive call with trace command. There. All right, and then we really don't have that anymore. And it probably helps if I write command correctly. All right, now we're probably going to get some interesting errors here, I would expect. Yes. Okay. And this begins the rabbit hole of running down the problem. So because we're mocking or partially mocking artisan, anything in the framework or even Orchestral's test bench that uses that is is not going to run. It's going to be partially mocked or faked in some way that's not going to allow the rest of our code to kind of run. So we could go digging in this for a second, but I think the long story short is it's definitely not going to work this way. So we can try something else. We can try spy just for giggles. We're going to probably keep getting kind of similar stuff. So let's narrow this down though to get rid of some of this noise on that specific test. So let's take this, and there we go. Let's just run this for a second. So method get.blueprint from should have been called exactly once, but called 0 times. So my guess is because we're spying it, we're probably not even, like this probably isn't even working. So let me just kind of demonstrate that. I bet you down here I can say something like artisan should have received, and probably something like blueprint erase. Yeah, so now you're getting to a place where orchestral test bench console kernel should be called. It wasn't called. So it's just there's a lot of noise that's happening here. And again, if we dig down deep enough inside of here, we see that, pending command. And if the console's mocked out already, it's not actually going to call artisan. So we can kind of, again, backtrace this just a little bit. Mock console output. So again, something turns this on elsewhere, so we can kind of look for that. So let's find out. Let's see if anything actually marks that. Without mocking console, disable mocking the console output. I wonder where this gets set, like elsewhere, particularly what other things in the vendor folder set it. It's just these? That's interesting. Mock console output. What is pending command? Like I said, I've played this game before, and it's it's not easy. So yeah, okay, we have a pending command. So this is actually if a command gets called. Yeah, we kind of don't care. I don't think we care about that specifically. So let's try two more approaches. First, let's go back and look at their little artisan fake to kind of see if there's any clues on something we might be able to do specific to this. So, of course, all these assert called are unnecessary. So let's look at where we actually make one of these. Okay, so it looks like what they're doing. I gotcha. Okay, so they're wrapping the actual underlying kernel. Okay. And okay, they're saying what to actually fake. And okay, so they're acting like a traffic cop, if you will, a director, a gateway, a lot of different things you could call it, but they're basically saying, okay, if you weren't part of the fake command, then actually call the real thing. So this is actually a little bit better than it's a little bit better than a spy. It's supposed to be implementing the same behavior as a partial mock, but I just don't think the partial mock is working correctly. See, in mockery, a partial mock, only the things you mocked out should return your stuff. Everything else should get passed through, which is what this is doing. But my guess is that because of the way artisan and the kernel and all that stuff deep down behave, there's a lot of different things that call through to that, and it's probably just mocking it like too much. So let's take a look at this partial mock one more time. So get facade accessor. If it is a mock, return the mocked instance. Otherwise, the mock, and then they turn it into a partial. And again, the partial, set mock to defer unexpected methods to its parent if possible. Now my guess is that this kind of just looks for anything that says call and sends it on or mocks it. That's probably what the issue is. So when we're doing something like partial mock here, even though this would work in kind of a traditional sense, it's probably only filtering for call, and there's a lot of things in the framework that use call, right? And so that's our issue. It's not using call and then filtering this, which is maybe what we would expect it to do, and maybe it is doing that somewhere, but I think that's what the issue is. So again, naively, I would assume that this should work, but again, going back to where we were before, this doesn't. So let's just run this one more time and see what, yeah, has been bootstrapped, and like where is this? This is in the console kernel, right? So just to go look at that line, let's just kind of see if it gives us any last clues. Whoops. We want console kernel and the actual implementation. What line was that? 309. Here we go. So we bootstrap it. This app has been bootstrapped. Call to a member function. So app is somehow null. Bootstrap the application for artisan commands. Interesting. Get the artisan application instance. Wait a second. Is this? That is Laravel. Set artisan. Interesting. Okay. So, yes, I'm sure. What do you have here? Adrian. And register. Okay, so mock the erase command, not artisan itself, and register the mock. I see what you're after. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's look at that for a sec. Okay, so if we go to the erase command, what if, so you're saying what if we mocked the trace command, really, I think is probably what you're saying. Right? And so that way when this got resolved out of the container, it was just a mock, and we could assert that like artisan did some low-level thing with it. Right? So if we do something here like this call, we can see that, I don't know, somehow run command got sent on it. Yeah, it resolves the command, and maybe run got called on it. Right? That's oogly. It's ugly, but I think that would work. That's funny. Yeah, so we could see that run got called on it. Let's try it for a minute. Let's try it. It's fun, and then we won't do this anymore. Okay, so let's do this. Let's not mock anything, and we should see that this plays on and probably explodes. Undefined variable artisan. Whoops. So this should run actually. We could leave it this way, but what's interesting about this is it actually ends up calling the trace command, right? So if we go to trace, and we just throw something down in here somewhere, let's just do like a DD, or here we'll do this, throw new exception. Do not call me. Yeah. So see, it's actually calling trace. Now what's interesting is, you know, we could just let it call trace because it's not going to do anything else here when it loads stuff, right? But what if it like didn't find any definitions or something, right? And we got an error when we didn't expect that from the handle method. So we just kind of want to control that behavior a little bit. So that's why we care. Again, you might be thinking, okay, well it passes. Who cares? And yeah, you're right, kind of. But that's why, is that if trace ever changed, now you've got a failing erase command, and that's very confusing in the future to try to resolve. So let's do this. Before we call artisan, let's just try this real quick. Let's try what Adrian suggested, which is basically with the trace command, we can try to register that. So if we go look at Blueprint, where it registers, or it's the service provider, sorry, Blueprint service provider. Down here somewhere we register the different commands that we're actually going to run, right? Up here, yeah, we bind something to that specific command. So what we could do, it's a little bit ugly, but just for giggles, we could try this in this very specific case. We could say something like this, swap that command with some kind of trace command. And if we turn this, nope, not that. If we turn this into a mockery mock, really doesn't matter what it is, to be honest. Or no, it does matter, because it has the run command called on it. You know what? We'll see if it matters. We'll see if it matters. Let's do trace command expects run. Let's see what happens. Okay, argument passed to Illuminate console application add must be an instance of console command. Okay, fair enough. I kind of thought it might need to be a command. So let's make it one. And let's just borrow that. So let's actually mock this out to be a type of that class, because other things potentially get called on it. And now we have a set Laravel. Yeah. So it's going to receive like a bunch of stuff. So we could try to spy on it real loosely. Blueprint trace is not defined. That's interesting. It calls the trace command. Blueprint trace. Oh. I bet you internally Laravel reads all the commands, looks at their Artisan reads all the commands and looks at their descriptions and titles to generate the command or the output for the Artisan command. So again, same rabbit hole here. We're going to end up in a place where we'd have to mock so many things to make it work this way. Yeah. So again, there might be a path to do it that way, but it's pretty gross. So what do you have here? App console commands, trace command, just mock handle. Oh, okay. So you're going to say trace command, and you'll do like a partial mock. Oh, it's not. All right. Trace command okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I see what you're after. You're after mocking like handle, but I would need a real one now. So, what does the trace command get? Blueprint service provider. It gets files, so I could make a new trace command and then partially mock it somehow. Yeah, I think in Mockery there's a way to mock an existing object. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that looks like. Yeah, because see now we're not allowing it to be resolved out of the container with the additional stuff. So yeah, I think there's gonna be issues that we run into there as well. So okay, so anyways, here's what we're gonna do. We are going to leave the rest of these tests because I do think there's value in kind of at least these empty paths of when there's no things to trace or anything of that nature. Um, so I do think there's value there. And then like we talked about, this test does pass. It's a little bit of a risky one though in the fact that um, it doesn't really it could bite you later on if you go changing the way trace works. Like if trace does something very high up, you're going to see a failure in your erase command, probably because it doesn't have the proper setup for the trace command. So I think we'll leave it for now and go ahead and merge this version because again, there are some good changes in here. So let's just go ahead and finish this up. So do git add. See, there we go. That's why we have that .blueprint file there. This is proof that the trace command has side effects. The trace command's actually running and it's generating a blueprint file for me locally when I run these tests. So there's proof that of a side effect. While it's not failing the test, this is a side effect that I wouldn't want to happen. Um, so kind of ugly. So we're going to come back to it, and it sounds like Mohammed's joined us, and he is saying his other PR has a potential solution. So let's go check that out. Let's finish this up. So we're going to change this back to this, which is fine, and we're going to get rid of those unnecessary imports and that old swapping and the old assertion, because again, we're just going to let it play on for now. And let's go check out this other PR. Allow erase to call trace. All right, git push origin head. Let's just get this merged in straight up. So I'm going to close this, but I will steal this just for reference. And let's go make a PR out of this, and we'll get it merged, and then we'll finish up this live stream by checking out, let's see, backfill test for blueprint erase. And we'll say supersedes that. Cool. And we'll let those tests run. And while those are running, let's go back to blueprint and let's see what's going on with this other one that's mentioned. Okay, lighter trace command to increase reusability and testability. Awesome. Okay, so I see a lot of failing tests here, but let's see what you got here. Okay, so realize that the command includes the full implementation in contrast to the build command, which depends on build. It's not ready to merge, but you call the trace. Okay, so instead of calling the other command, you kind of inject an object to make it easier to test with this concept of a tracer instead of a builder. Yes. Yes. I see what you're after here. I'm not sure that I like this either. See, if it were me, and I think what I recommended in Confident Laravel, if I remember correctly, is this was an opportunity to push something to the boundary. And this is just a very, very generic testing strategy. When you have something that's like super difficult to test and you can't test it, it's just like this one little piece. That doesn't mean it's one line of code. It could be a method call or something else. You can take that one little method and you can push it, somewhere else into the system, which is going to allow you to maybe mock that level of integration easier. And even though that simply just calls off to the other thing, you kind of wrap it up. So I feel like that's a lighter weight approach than wrapping up tracer. I don't feel like tracer, let's find out, but I don't think tracer's used anywhere else in the application. So I just don't know why we would move it away. But again, to the point of the PR, so is Builder, and I think it made Builder, easier to test. So this doesn't really solve our immediate issue, though, of having to call a race. This does make the trace command easier to test. I can understand that because the trace command's doing a lot. So I'm open to that aspect, but it doesn't really help us. It doesn't really help us on the build erase side of things. So we have a couple different options here. So going back to the erase command, what I would probably do is change this up somehow to where there was something else that got called. So instead of like this call, I might make something myself that is used within the application. So it might just be like you know command, not really command bus, but maybe like commander. uh, so anyways, you could make something else is the point, which got resolved, and then that would be easier to fake. And even though you're just using it this one way, then we know we can fake this like commander that calls out to another command. So, or just something simple like command helper. And it's just this little lightweight object that all it really does is call artisan call. It's just a wrapper. But if we take that, we could make it a real-time facade or all sorts of different things that just make it really lightweight to use. So I think that is easier. It makes it easier to do the erase command. Now the trace command with the tracer, I understand. There's a lot of code in the trace command, unlike other things. So again, if we look at the erase command, it's not that long. It's less than 100 lines with all these comments and properties. But the tracer command, or trace command is like 300 lines. So I get why it's very hard to test. So long story short, I'll leave that PR open. To answer your question, though, I'm okay with breaking this down into a tracer for the purposes of testing. I just don't think it solves kind of the immediate issue of calling trace here necessarily, unless you're suggesting that you would then call the tracer itself directly from there, which is a possibility. So with all that said, I'm going to undo these changes. Whoops, and leave what you have. And we'll just merge what we have with the understanding that this PR that's still open is something that, once you finish the tracer, then we might have a solution for calling off to erase. So hopefully you got your answers there. And we are green here, so let's go ahead and merge this. Squash merge that. Boom. Great. And let's just pull everything down locally and fix that PHP unit bit real fast. So get checkout master, get pull, clear, and then composer, or well, we already ran composer update. What we want to run is vendor bin PHP unit. Now what I'm going to run this command. I'm curious what it does, but what I'm more curious about is if I migrate this configuration, is it going to run on 8? So let's just kind of see what it did. Git diff-w. What did it do? What did you do? Okay, it updated the XST. And then it changed filter to coverage, it looks like. Interesting. Alright, other than that, it seems to just all be the same. Stop on failure, process. Okay, so here's what I'm curious about now. if I were to force PHP unit 8 and run composer, whoops, composer update, or well, I think when you do that you can't. Now let's just run composer install fresh. I should have all this stuff cached, yeah. I'm curious if I can run this without it griping. Yeah, no, I'm still on 9. Oh, because I have a lock file. Durr. Let's try that again. I didn't even realize I did like PHP 9, PHP unit 9. I'm fine with PHP unit 9. I'm kind of curious though. I don't want to like do this migration if it breaks for those that maybe want to contribute to the project still running PHP unit 8. I also kind of don't know why I supported both of them. I vaguely remember someone opening a PR about it. But yeah. Yeah, so it throws an error. Okay, so 2 options. I can leave PHP unit 9 as an option, and I'll leave the warning because it's just a warning. But I guarantee you I'm gonna have someone open a pull request with the updated configuration. Or I can downgrade PHP unit to version 8 and leave the original configuration file and avoid any kind of warnings. And then if someone were to say, oh, I want to run PHP unit 9, I can kind of then better understand why. So I think I answered my own question. So let's do git add -p on composer, and let's just demote PHP unit, but not change that. PHP 9 minimum stability is 7.3. I don't have any PHP requirements, so we're okay there. Okay, I'm just going to do this for now. Demote or downgrade PHP unit to version 8. Git push origin head. All right. Git reset --hard. What's left here? Oh, it made that backup file. We're good. Let's just clean that. All right. Okay. I think we're in a good place. So we've got down to 1 PR. Let's just take a quick lap through the open issues, and we'll kind of figure out some stuff next time. So let's look at these pending ones. I think everything else here is a community enhancement. Again, community enhancements, I've read these, I've reviewed these, I've commented on these. It's just not something I'm going to build at this time. So I'm hoping the community, if they really want it, they can PR it. Because some of these things are kind of edge casey, like aliased relationships. It's, I think we talked about a syntax that's possible. Yeah. And I'm open to it, but it's just, I don't think it's something that it's probably not a very high-end use case. Like, if it's not used enough for me to really warrant spending time on it right now. But to that point, when I do get around to version 2, which is at 100,000 downloads, I will probably go back and implement any of these enhancements that haven't been implemented. So I'll do it eventually, but I'm gonna wait for now. Okay, ability to customize table name. Default convention is good, but when we have non-English model name, we need to have ability to specify the name of our table. Again, I'm open to this, so I think there's a growing need to have some kind of meta property for components. Yeah, so this meta property, so there's becoming more and more things So I can think about controllers even. There's some things in here for controllers like generate a policy, generate, um, you know, middleware, associate middleware with that particular controller. So there's all sorts of things, but they're just not something you may want to do very often. I would argue that relationships are even kind of a meta property, if you will, on a model. Going back to models, the issue is right now I'm throwing a bunch of these things like the relationships just go underneath model, but as you do table name, as you do aliases, as you do, traits, you want soft deletes or whatever, which is inferred right now. Again, version 1 of Blueprint's all about like speed, don't have to type a lot, like, it'll infer things for you. And so if you're doing things, conventionally, you're going to get a lot of code for not having to type a lot of YAML, which is always what I wanted. I didn't want people to write these huge YAML definitions. And it's also a reason I think Blueprint's different than what's out there. Like there are some web-based services, there's other generators out there that run from the command line or whatever. And the issue with those in my mind is they're too dense or they require too much setup. Like you have to write this huge JSON in a web editor, and that's just not where developers are. Like developers are, in the console, they're in their editor locally. Like so again, those all have their place, clearly, but that's why I wanted Blueprint to be a little different. So that's also why I'm hesitant to go down kind of this meta, but I think it's a growing need. Anyways, so I am open to this idea. If you'd like to propose a syntax, cool. Let's just take that, put it on community, and take off pending. All right, let's go look at these others. Ability to use custom generators. Ability to use custom generators. Okay, so it looks like in the config file, if you were always using the same, if you would have overwritten your own generator, you would. Can you overwrite a generator? I think you can. You just register it as the same generator, right? Let's go look at that real quick. I kind of forgot. We got the service provider up anyway. Register Lexa, register generator. Yeah, you know what? We don't override generators. I don't know if you could override the controller generator entirely on your own. So we definitely, like Blueprint's definitely extendable, because you can call register generate on Blueprint and obviously do whatever you need, or even Lexers to that matter. And this is how, Nova, Pest, all these other things work. I'm curious though, and maybe you're on the call. Someone wrote, or if you're in the audience and you wrote the Pest one, I'm curious, how did you make it not do the test? Did you unregister? I feel like I made an unregister. I think I did. Oh, swap generator. Here we go. Ah, okay, that's how it's done. I answered my own question. Never mind. Okay, so there is a swap generator. So you would basically say, hey, instead of this controller, use this controller. Yeah, okay, so I am open to this if you'd like to create a PR. However, the current way to do so would be to either create a package or in your own service, let's just say app service provider, what is this? Call Blueprints swap generator method. Let's get a link to this just to be helpful. So let's go back here and the code, and we'll do swap, or no, sorry, that's service provider, swap. Oh no, it's in Blueprint itself, that's why. Blueprint, Blueprint, there you are. Swap. Cool. Let's just link that up, shall we? Cool. Yeah, okay. And again, I will leave this to the community. So yeah, if someone wants to add this, I'm okay. I'm okay having that be there. It's a nice, easy way to do it in the config to just say, look, I always want to use these other generators. But in my mind, like if they're part of your app, if you're only doing this for your own app, I think an easier solution for everyone and less code in Blueprint too, for me, is just to put in your app service provider to swap them out. And if you're doing this in multiple applications, again, yet another thing would just be to create your own private package that calls the swap generator method anyway, and then include that as an add-on of like your own extension of Blueprint. So again, I'm open to it because I do think that's a little bit streamlined, but at the same time, there's other ways to do it now. So again, just not something I'm going to be working on just yet. Okay, cool. So I think what I want to do, probably what I want to do next week is focus on returning to this ability to publish and customize stubs and align them with Laravel's stubs. You can actually publish the Blueprint stubs now and change them. That's been merged in, I think, since the last live stream or during the last live stream. It got completed, but now it's tagged and out there. So I just want to keep taking that a bit farther because I do know Laravel 8 has more stubs, and I do know people are starting to use those a bit more anyway. So it'd be really nice if Blueprint not only could publish its own, but actually aligned with Laravel. So if you already have published Laravel stubs and customized them, Blueprint would be smart enough to use those if they existed for things like models or controllers or whatnot. Some of the stuff, of course, is custom to Blueprint, but most things, the requests, the models, the jobs, all that stuff's an artisan make command as well, so they could easily be shared. So I think I'll work on that next time. With that said, I'll check the chat for any final bits and just kind of prep a release here. So it looks like 9 new commits. Let's just kind of take a peek at these. So yeah, I think a lot of this stuff was just, again, adding, a lot of those. Here we go, publish Blueprint stubs. So actually, I apologize, that has not been tagged yet. So this will be tagged in, what is this, 1.16? Yeah, so 1.16 will be tagged after this call, and I'll post it up on Twitter. So again, looks all good. Doesn't look like there's anything in the chat. So thank you all for joining while I jump back in and get the rhythm back for these live streams. And we'll pick up next week. See y'all.